afternoon and welcome to the day. Here you are again at the show called Gangster of the Constitution, being brought to you by BGN Network. Let's don't waste any time. I'm feeling a little hot and breezy today because we got a lot to talk about. So what we're going to do today, we're going to cut to the main issue of the day. President Donald Trump signed a welfare reform bill. Well, I am so glad that he did that because we've had welfare reform now for 20 years, since 1996. What happened to it, President Obama said, well, he wasn't going to do that law, and he simply just did not do it. And most of the things that's in the law, he said that people no longer had to do, like be welfare drug tested, or go to work, or go to school and get your check. Well, that law was written in 1996, signed by President Clinton. Here it is right here. Here it is right here. This was signed by Clinton. And it is a welfare reform bill. This is a part of it. I will read this part to you from Congressmember Dick Chrysler. P.S. I got the Christine Timmon law passed. It was called One Strike and You're Out. It was included in the Manager's Amendment of the United States Housing Act. It will throw drug dealers out of government housing. Well, that was just one of the things that I had the Republicans to write in the welfare reform laws. Now, another part that was written in the laws, and most people in Michigan and other states that followed these laws, when Governor Engler started the Work First program, there's supposed to be, each state is supposed to have a welfare employment program where once a week you get registered and you sign up and you come in once a week and you bring your employment or volunteer or school activity in order to get your check. And if you didn't show up, you would get a letter saying you got one more chance to show up or your check will be gone. So everyone is supposed to have that. But Obama stopped it. So that meant all those people spent 8 years being unproductive and learning how to live on welfare and Section 8. And now we're fixing to cut it back off. And do not blame Donald Trump. Not for all of it. He's just executing the law. That's what he's doing. So I just like to say that one of the main things about this is the welfare reform right now. See, it's a little different because the welfare reform, when we wrote it back in the 90s, was to stop generational welfare, mostly done by black people. They were using the welfare to proliferate the drug world. All overseas, they came here. The French Connection, Iran-Contra, Afghan students, the Noriega, and the South Americans and the Mexicans. They just used our welfare system to sell their drugs and destroy our nation. So this time, the welfare reform is going to be aimed at getting rid of the immigrants who think that we need them to work. But they got to understand, until we get these millions of people off welfare, then we don't need immigrants. Now, once we get everybody off the welfare that's able-bodied, if you need foreign workers, it's really each state that's supposed to let you come in. It has nothing to do with the United States. So that's how we're going to get our fruit and vegetables. They're all saying, well, the America's not going to be able to eat if we don't pick their fruits and vegetables. You a lie. As long as somebody on welfare and you live in California, Atlanta, any state that has a harvest time, during harvest time, those people are supposed to go to each state welfare employment office and register their harvesting jobs. And if somebody don't go, if nobody shows up and do those jobs, then they're going to be assigned to go to work. And if you don't want to do it, you will not get a check. This is what this one is supposed to be about. Everybody's supposed to be working. Every factory that has work to do, all this safe stuff they say about, well, Americans won't do this and America won't do. Yes, they will. If you got to get your check, you will go to the meat packing company. You will go to the field. You will bring in our lettuce and our peaches. You're going to do it or you will not get a check. Now, if you are in school or if you have another job, different story. But if you have absolutely no work at all, I'm sorry. If you're in a harvest state, you will be called on to help with the harvest in order to get your check. But you'll get 2 checks because you get a check from whoever you work for as well as your check. So that's what I got to say to you today about the welfare reform that Mr. Trump is doing. Do not blame him. It was already the law signed by President Clinton. Oh, it wasn't easy to get him to sign it, but he did sign that law, and it is a Republican law. So the final thing I'm going to tell you about this particular situation, you remember when all the caravan of people coming over here talking about they was going to take our jobs and stuff? Well, when Mr. Trump said that it was just the caravan were illegals coming to attack America, he wasn't lying. That is in case number 14-CV-62937. You remember I've told you people about that case before. That's the one where the complainant is seeking $10 trillion to be divided amongst all the American citizens whose heritage is before 1965, when the Fed started giving them federal tax dollars that belong to Americans. Well, I will read you the sentence before that. And keep in mind now, this federal district judge dismissed the case. But when it went to Supreme Court, she got overturned. He went down on a 4-4 split. As you saw on the last show, he went down on the floor for a split. So everything in my case is all one. So here's what it says. She writes it like this. The complaint seeks to charge President Obama with treason and high treason for leading an army of illegals against the United States of America. And then she put it in quote unquote. She quoted that. So when the Supreme Court overturned Obama's immigration plan, that's what the Supreme Court was approving, that he was leading the army of illegals to attack America. So Mr. Trump is not wrong. He's just following the law again. So you people need to get up off of Mr. Trump, and y'all need to understand that he is a law-abiding citizen. A law-abiding constitutional citizen. So there's no need in any more fussing with him. When he does something, just say, I'm glad he did it. That's all you need to be saying. So what we're going to do right now, we're going to look at some of the things that other people are saying. We have a young lady. We're going to go to her clip now. And she's a little woman for Trump. And she's also for gun rights. And she's standing there. Oh, she posing. She got her gun. Okay? And she's speaking for gun rights and for the rights of the people. So let's go to that clip now.
How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we gotta talk about this picture that has gone viral over the past 3 or 4 days. You see the picture on the screen before you. The woman's name in the picture is Brenda Spencer. She is 22 years old and is soon to be college grad at UTC, that is University of Tennessee at Chattanooga. And you see why the picture has gone viral. But before we get into that, I just want to say that this area I know very well. I live in the area, so I know all about this particular region. I'll place a picture of myself on the screen before you. In that same spot where she was, you see the little glass rail, I suppose, and you see the bridge behind myself. It's the same one that's behind her, but let's get back to her picture. Now, you see why this picture has gone viral, and it also caused some kind of controversy. You see the gun in her pants. People are saying that the gun is haphazardly in her waistband. No, it's not. She has on the invisible holster that you cannot see, which she said on Twitter. And of course, the other obvious thing is the Women for Trump t-shirt. That's going to trigger a lot of people. And also her being white and blind, that might not help to the racist, ignorant liberals out there. But before I go any further, let's watch this clip from Fox News. She did appear on the show to talk about everything that's going on, to give you a little bit more info about herself, and to talk about some of the backlash she got in the tweets, aside from what I just said right now. So after we get done with that, I'll talk about that. Then I wrap it on up and put a nice bow on top. So without further ado, let's go ahead and roll it.
A student at the University of Tennessee, she's right there, defending her graduation picture after posing with a gun in her waistband while lifting her Women for Trump t-shirt. The viral photo comes at a time where both the Second Amendment and conservatives are under attack on college campuses. Joining us now is that student, Brenna Spencer. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. So we saw the picture. I know that you've gotten a lot of backlash, and we'll talk about that. But why did you want to wear that t-shirt and then show the gun?
Yeah, so taking my graduation photos, I figured that I wanted them to be personal and show who I am and represent the person that I am. So obviously being very passionate about conservative politics and the Second Amendment, I decided that that was what I wanted to do.
How did you get to this point in your life? Tell us a little bit about you, where you grew up, what your major is, and why you're so pro-gun and why you support the president.
Yeah, I grew up in Cincinnati, actually, and my family moved to Nashville when I was around 10 years old. My parents have been very active in politics, so I kind of got my passion from them and hearing about what, they have to tell me, so.
I want to read some of the tweets that we pulled from Twitter. This girl, Lisa, says, you realize employers will see this, right? Hope you...
Well, I hope you like that clip. The reason I showed you that is because for 53 years, white people haven't said anything about anything practically. But now that Donald Trump is in there, they're speaking out. And what I think happened to the young people is that what happened to them, the colleges and universities taught them other ways that are not in the Constitution. They taught them to be communist style and to actually be afraid of being white. Yes, they did. So I say to you, I'm proud of that young lady. I'm glad she's standing up. It's high time that the white people get up and say something, especially the young ones, because they got to learn to live in this country too. They're always talking about Black Lives Matter, but you didn't hear her say White Lives Matter. See, the white people, they can't go to the races. They got to go directly to the constitutional law. And that's what I need everybody to start doing. So, and another thing on this teaching, I can prove what I'm saying. They got a lot of foreign people up in there teaching our students. Foreigners who don't even know the meaning of our words. And then we wonder why our schools are falling apart. Here's another shout out here clip. This person here, she is telling us about her mom is from Iran and she's the one who is teaching our children. Well, no wonder. If she's from Iran, she's likely only been in our nation about 30 years. She doesn't know what these words mean. And then already, like I've told you already, the words that are being taught in school is all a lie anyway. So our kids are being taught lies by people from other countries, like Iran learned everything they know from America. So now they're over here, been here 30 years and think they can teach our children, and they haven't really learned yet for themselves. So that's what I gotta say about that. Now, what we're going to do now that we've had our little clips, We've talked about Mr. Trump and his welfare reform. We've talked about the young lady with the with her little gun thing going on. Now we got to go to something I think is vital and important for our day and our time. In the last 20 to 30 years, there has been a lot of relations between blacks and whites, and it has produced people that they call biracial. Well, when you read the Merriam-Webster dictionary in any of them, it tells you that children born of one white parent and one black parent, no matter which way, is a mulatto. That's been in the history for hundreds of years. It's not a name that anybody really liked, because during slavery time, the only mulattoes that were allowed to survive were the ones had by the black women. If a white woman produced a mulatto, she had to find a black woman, a slave, to take the baby. Otherwise, they had to leave that baby in the woods. They could not bring it into a white town. Sometime the baby would get lucky and a slave woman would come along and find it. So I think that's why the name mulatto is not real popular. But you got to face it, when you mix those two races, it's not black, it's not white, you make another race now. That's the way it's explained by the Merriam-Webster dictionary. So let's go to the clip of the U of T, University of Texas, black pageant, where the girl who won has one black parent and one white parent. So everybody's upset because her skin tone is so white, and they're saying that she should not be in a black pageant. Well, they are correct. What we're going to have to do, you got to remember, there's hundreds of thousands of offspring now from these couplings that produced another race. The number one mulatto in the world is Barack Obama. He was born of a white woman and a black man. But he doesn't want to call himself mulatto. He wants to lean on the black side to get votes. And then when he get in office, he help all the whites and the Assyrians, anything that look white. That's what he does. And he puts the blacks in prison and had the police to shoot them down. So that's because he can wander from race to race, get this benefit for the black race, get that from the white race. No. They should not allow to be able to do that. They are a minority known as mulatto in the doggone Merriam-Webster and any other dictionary you want. So let's just watch this clip, about, say, a couple of minutes of this clip of this mulatto lady.
It all started when she won the Miss Black University of Texas beauty pageant. That's the good news. The bad news is her crowning glory triggered something unexpected. Hurtful Twitter comments taking aim at her skin tone for not being black enough. It's reignited a long simmering hot button issue. Nightline welcomes ABC's Adrienne Bankert.
College senior Rachel Mallinson is soaking up every last moment of her senior year at the University of Texas, Austin.
I'm so excited. I'm ready to graduate.
Testing number 5, Rachel.
Earlier this week, the 22-year-old was crowned Miss Black UT.
When they announced my name, the first thing I honestly thought was, wow.
But her celebration has been sidelined by controversy.
One moment, I'm on cloud 9. People agreed that I was worthy enough to win the title, and then the next minute, I'm not black enough and I don't deserve this.
Just hours after receiving the crown, a vocal group of people took to Twitter saying Rachel, who is biracial, should not have won because she isn't black enough.
One tweet says, she's clearly the lightest, damn near white-looking black woman, and she won over others. Quit playing dumb, guys. It looks sketchy.
One user writing, of course they choose the most light-skinned, least-looking black person there. Another saying, they should have pulled out the brown paper bag test. The pageant, in its 35th year, is hosted by the historically black fraternity Kappa Alpha Psi. Qualification for entry in the scholarship pageant being someone of African American heritage. The fraternity stands by Rachel, saying she is completely deserving of the crown.
I was raised by a mother who's white, who loves me so much, who has helped me become the confident woman I am. I was raised by a black dad who loves me so much, who has helped raise me. I mean, how could I not identify with both sides of them?
For people to say that she's not black enough is frankly ridiculous. Her father is African American. She is a biracial woman. So although you don't look at her and you don't first think that, is she black? You don't know what ethnicity she is. But if her father's black, she's black. I think that the issue with Rachel's win has been politicized, and Rachel represents an issue of colorism. It's not necessarily her person.
Well, there we have it. They should have a really a way to honor mulattoes. They should have had a mulatto queen contest, or they could have had anything other than call her black, because she's not black. No, she's not black, and she's not white either. She's a mulatto. Anybody with one white parent and one black parent, that's the way it's explained in Merriam-Webster dictionary. And so that's pretty much all I've got to say right now on issues that involve other people that everybody's making their statements on. And they're pretty much mad at that woman. Everybody is, even the white people are upset. So both of them wrong. She's not white and she's not black. She's another race of people. But I think they need to give them a nicer name. But they are another race. So y'all know when you're dealing with Christine Timmon, you can't come up with a lot of foolishness, because I'm the one to put together, helped the engineers to put together the first perpetual motion 3-tower nuclear power plant computer. So you can't come to me with a whole lot of rhetoric, because it's not going to work. So now let's get on to something that you better hope we don't have to go to. What do you think would happen if we had to go right now back to the United States Constitution, word for word? Let's start with what would happen to the immigrants who came here after 1965 under the U.S. Immigration and Nationality Act of 1965. The first thing would happen is we throw that whole thing out, because it was put into place by communist-leaning Democrats and the Black Caucus and President Johnson. They were the ones who did that. They did it. What they wanted to do, they wanted to open up the borders for anybody to come through. Then they gave them our money. So they would think that it was the Democrats in Congress that was their gods who they bowed to. But the Constitution does not allow that at all. If they want to come here under the Constitution, first of all, they have to pay for it. They have to be sponsored by a person in one state. Then they have to pay state registration fees, state vetting fees, state work visa, and they have to be sworn in as a legal resident of a state in order to become a citizen, and you can't go outside that state without permission. Oh, President Johnson said, oh, that's too slow. So they threw all that back over on the side and put in the U.S. Immigration Nationality Act and required Americans to pay them money, the same benefits that we got. If we go back to the Constitution right today, every one of them check would be cut off. They would all receive a notice from the United States government that your citizenship is revoked. They will receive a letter. Your child's birth certificate is invalid. You must register your child and yourself in your state. Your child will receive a birth certificate that says foreign birth in the state of wherever you are. If you're in Texas, it would be a foreign birth in the state of Texas. If your citizenship would be, you would have to go and be registered with the state. You have to start all over again. Be registered with the state. Oh, you need a sponsor first from that state. Be registered with the state. Get vetted by the state to make sure you're not a criminal. And get your state work visa, because you'll be cut off Social Security. Everything would, from anything they have, would be cut off. If they get cut off of Social Security for not being a citizen, you can't get your money back, because you were supposed to have been paying state non-refundable work duties under Article 1, Section 9, Clause 3. So that's what would happen if we go back to it right now. Birth certificates invalid, citizenship just revoked. That means you will not be voting. You will not be doing anything federal. If you are in a federal elected office, you're out of it. That's what would happen if we went back to the Constitution right here and now today. And if someone rises up against it, under Article 1, Section 8, Clause 15, that area would be shut down. Tanks would be rolling on the streets. If they be out there doing all this insurrection they've been doing, under the Constitution, let me tell you what it says. Article 1, Section 8, Clause 15 says, call forth the militia to suppress insurrection and repel invasion. And I remember in the 60s, when it was a lot of stuff going on in the 60s, it wasn't nobody started that mess but the Black Caucus in Congress and all that. They started a bunch of mess in Detroit because they was getting ready to send all the drugs in there. They wanted to keep a whole lot of mess. And they had tanks rolling all up and down the streets. In the middle of the night, you could hear the tanks. And because, see, the tanks was just rolling that thing up on top all night. That is what you would hear in every one of those states where they got sanctuary cities, and that's what would be going on. And the sanctuary city leaders would be arrested immediately and tried for sedition. We don't want to do treason, because treason involves Congress. We don't need them in it. We'd just be a federal sedition trial based on you just violated the Constitution. Those are some of the things that can happen if we went back to the Constitution this instant. So y'all think Trump is bad? No, he not. No, he being real nice. He being real nice. And another thing that would happen, remember this case? Let's go back to the case again. The one we just read. Tell you what else will happen. We're going to go to page 3 here. She writes, you remember the judge that dismissed his case against Obama that I had? She wrote, plaintiff also seeks to demand $10 trillion in damages to be evenly distributed amongst American citizens. Let me tell you something. If we had to go back to the Constitution right now, that's exactly what they would have to do. Article 1, Section 8, Clause 1 does not allow the federal government to spend any tax dollars for anything that's not of the United States. That anything is not a debt that we owe or defense of the nation. Well, we do not owe a debt to foreign immigrants. This is all something that was made up by the Democrats, and they had the Black Caucus in there helping them, because everybody wanted to keep the Democrats in power no matter how it hurt Americans. So that's just some of the things that could happen if we went back to the Constitution word for word on this day. So don't think what you're seeing is really bad. When you hear Mr. Trump telling you these things, I was really, really happy when he said that the caravan was an army, an army of illegals coming to attack America. That's what's been going on. We've been under attack. especially the black people. And at least the white people know they under attack. The black people don't even realize that we attacked them for 8 years. They thought because they could stay on welfare and Section 8, but that's another attack against you. Because when that go down, you won't be able to survive. You won't know how. You always supposed to know how to survive. God gave everybody the survival instinct. But when you get on welfare, it takes it away. And something happens, like take for instance right now, the whole world. If the electrical current shuts down, it all operates on one single electrical current. If it shut down, what you gonna do? You won't have no lights or nothing. You would have to learn all over again. So that's the position that America is in, especially the black people. They're going to have to learn that they've had more harm done to them by the Democrat administration than anything else. And they need to stop talking about Donald Trump, because Donald Trump don't even know them. He just got in a few days ago. Oh, they mad because he said the Mexicans dirty, the slick-headed rapists and all. But he got that from me. Remember, I was the one. I showed you the picture of my stretch limo in front of Congress all day, that white stretch. I was in there telling all of my Republican friends to get up off your behind, your white behind, and get some work done. Stop these Mexicans and these Haitians and people from raping up the women and children. I had to get 2 restraining orders, because y'all see how cute I am. Y'all can just about imagine they would be surrounding my house all night. And I just got tired of it. And I went to Congress, and I was the first one who said that. So I would thank you not to blame Donald Trump for it. He got it from me. So I think we got about a half an hour or so left here. And I've got something that I want to go to that I didn't get into the last time. But before I go there, we're going to do some Medicare reform. Before I go there, I will tell you one final thing. What they're saying, when Mr. Trump put the troops on the border, I just told you why he had to do that. It's Article 1, Section 8, Clause 15. It says, call forth the militia. Then there's another one. The Guarantee Clause, Article 4, Section 4. It says the United States shall protect each state from invasion. That's what it says. So he had to do that. Then there's the issue of they are not allowed to do that under our Constitution, period. So that is why the Constitution gives the president all these powers. Under Article 2, Section 2, it says each president is commander and chief of the United States Army and Navy and commander and chief of the militia of all the several states. So when you hear Governor Jerry Brown saying that he not going to call out the California militia, the California troops, and when you hear his girlfriend up there in Oregon, I think her name is Mary Brown, she's saying she not going to call out Oregon's troop. Well, Donald Trump don't need that. He can just, they going to have to go if he say so by executive order. The Constitution says each president is commander-in-chief, Army, Navy, and all the several states, all the militias. So let's get this stuff right. This is what would happen if we had to go directly to the United States Constitution right here now today. In 2018, none of them would be voting. All their checks would be cut off. And it wouldn't be nothing to be done about it. And if a federal judge jump up in it, he go down to under judicial sedition. That's what would happen to these wrongdoing immigrants and judges and mayors and sanctuary city leaders and governors if we went back to the Constitution on this day. So let me see here. I think I have about 20 minutes left. I'm asking my director. Okay, he says I've got about 20 minutes left. So we're going to close up the agenda book today, and we're going to go to something very serious. I know y'all always hearing them talk about Medicare and Medicaid reform and how much the people are using Medicaid, and they go on and on and on, but they don't tell you about the multi-billions of dollars that are stolen each year. 70% of it come out of one state, Florida, especially South Florida. I need you people to Google South Florida Medicare fraud. Google U.S. will attorney raids or busts Medicare frauds. It's all kinds of psychiatric Medicare frauds, home health care Medicare frauds, dialysis Medicare frauds. 70% of it comes from South Florida. Now, what we had to happen for us, we had the U.S. attorney. We got really, really lucky with the U.S. attorney, Will Ferrer. What he did, he went into their little schemes and he raided several of their little drug syndicates. See, they operate down there in drug syndicates. And so when they operate like that, someone has to have the authority to go in there and bust them. And so I'm going to read to you, or I can tell you what it said. Will Ferrer said that the illegal people had found ways to rob the Medicare system. That's what he told us. That's what he told us. And here I'm going to read what it says here to you. I like to bring my stuff in writing. This is an excerpt from, I'll hold it up here. Can you kind of zoom in on that just a little bit? He's going to zoom in on this a little bit for you so you can see some of what Will is saying. This is our U.S. Attorney, Will Ferrer, in the state of Florida, and he works South Florida Medicare fraud. I hope that's enough for you to, get an idea of what I'm saying here. So let's read it now. Miami money laundering case spotlights link between Medicare fraud and Cuba National Bank. Here's what I really like about it. He says, what was driving this underground banking syndicate? Here's what it is. You ain't going to believe it. It says, since the mid-1990s, waves of Cuban immigrants have learned myriads of ways to fleece the tax-funded health care program for the elderly and disabled. That's what he's telling you. And then he goes on to say that this money was mostly funneled to Cuban banks. They had all kind of sneaky ways that they did it. Sometimes they shoot it up through Canada and back down through the United States into California or Texas, on through Mexico and South America, but it wound up back in the Cuban National Bank. So what Will told us when he did his raid of the Delgado brothers, they're the super millionaires. He told us, when I get through with these Delgado brothers, I'm going after the billionaires. It wasn't a good year later. You can read the headlines. largest Medicare bust in Florida history. It was Felipe Esformes. You can just Google his name, Esformes. It'll come up. That man stole billions. He be bragging about he had 178 million just in his slush fund. And I'm saying, no, you stole 178 million. He got 100, about 29 or 30 nursing homes. Even though the feds busted him, even though that happens, it kind of doesn't really count for much because the state of Florida enables Medicare and Medicaid fraud. Florida statute, I'll read you some of the statutes. Let me find this here. Okay, I will find it. It's Florida statute FS 760.102. What that statute does, it tells you that no matter what happens to you in a doctor's office, you're not going to be able to do anything about it unless you go through some system they got. And it says it clearly, even if you die, even if it causes death, that you will not be able to do anything. No court in Florida would be allowed to accept any case against any doctor or anything medical in the state of Florida without going through that fancy Dan rigmarole that they set up in order to protect the doctors and the clinics down in Florida. So what they've also done, you don't have to have a license either. I know you don't believe it, but I got the papers. You see here? Kind of zoom up on this so they can see what I'm talking about. I got this information because y'all know I be investigating. I got this information from the state government. They weren't supposed to do this. The guy that sent it to me, he sent it to me anyway. This is about 17 names of facilities, medical facilities that are license exempt. Each page has 17 names, and it was a total of 601 pages. So you can count. None of them are licensed. Some of them got the doctors are licensed, but all the other people that work in there don't have license the first. So you could be dead on arrival. What it means is the reason they become unlicensed is so that they won't have to get insurance and the state can't hold them responsible. Because if you're license exempt, then you do not have to listen to any state oversight. That's exactly the game that they're playing down in Florida against the people. I think I have a copy of one of those letters about you don't have to follow state oversight. If I find it, then I will actually read it to you, but that's what it actually said, that the ones who are unlicensed do not have to follow state oversight. So now that we've come there, I will do a particular case. There was one case, and I was involved in one of the cases, where if you try to collect money that Medicare owes you, that you owe Medicare, let's just say your clinic messes you up. Medicare is going to send you this form and tell you you need to send this to your medical provider's insurance company. But in Florida, if the medical provider is unlicensed, it's license exempt, they don't have to have an insurance company. And believe it or not, if you continue to bug them about paying that Medicare bill, they can actually have you brought into court and put a restraining order on you. They can do it. I know. I can read you some of it. Let me find that here. They will deny any Medicare insurance form, not only can't send it to them by mail or fax or email, if this one here, a motion was filed. Let me get my glasses here. I'm getting excited. A motion was filed to have it sent by a licensed process server, and it says it clearly: respondent motion is denied. No claims will be allowed to send to this particular agency for any Medicare insurance claims. They won't let you do it if you didn't follow FS 760.102. The court will dismiss any case that you bring. They will do that. So that's what's happening down in the state of Florida, and this has caused Florida to become an enabling state for syndicates for Medicare. Is syndicated not through the state of Florida, but the state of Florida enables them to go into Medicare fraud crime syndicates, and they give fraudulent diagnoses, they give fake medication, they operate together. The psychiatrists got these patient recruiters in their offices. If you go into a medical office in the state of Florida, no matter what's wrong, they're going to probably going to ask you. This is not the doctor, and that doctor don't know this. This is the unlicensed staff want to know if you've been depressed. If you say, yeah, I've been depressed, oh boy, they're going to give you some card to go to see some psychiatrist or call them. You better not go, because you'll be done for. You might have just had a bad day. Maybe you had a fight with your boyfriend or whatever. Better not. They do that to everybody. I'm telling you, and there's nothing you can do about it. If you bust them under the state of Florida, there's nothing you can do unless you're really, really smart. So many people, when I first got there, I would hear people complaining about the doctor did this and doctor did that. And I'd be saying, well, shoot, they can't do that. Because I know in Michigan, where I'm from, you can't do anything. In other states, I've called other states to see do they have license exempt programs where these people where medical people can get away with such. They said no such thing is happening. And then we all believe that to get Medicare, you must be fully licensed, not half behind licensed where you could have a license, but you choose to be tax exempt so you don't have to get insurance and the state can't tell you nothing. You can't be regulated by the state at all. The good part for it is if you don't have the full license, if you're license exempt, they can't use state oversight. It says it clearly. But the courts will let them do it anyway. Even though they're not licensed, the court is not supposed to allow them to do anything to you at all in the court because they're not licensed doctors. They're not licensed clinics. We're going to wrap up the Medicare reform issue. And what I did yesterday, I contacted several members of the Florida legislators in Congress. And let me see, who all did I? Daniel Webster, Dennis Ross, Charlie Crist, Gus Bilirakis, Vern Buchanan, Thomas Rooney, Carlos Cabello, and Ron DeSantis. They're all congressmen from Florida, and I told them it's incumbent upon them to override the state statutes and laws that enables billions of dollars to be stolen from Medicare. And the bad part about it is 85% or more is all foreigners. It's like the foreigners just running through Medicare with gasoline shoes on. They've stolen enough from the state of Florida alone to take care of everybody in the United States. So I told him, do not start talking about any Medicare reform until you tell the people about all this money that's being stolen by the multi-billions. And so the girl says, well, there's nothing that we can do. I said, yes, it is. You're supposed to put those companies in receivership. Because, see, in the state of Florida, Even if the feds bust you with all your billionaires and millionaires stealing, your clinic's still running. You know why? Because you're license exempt and the state can't do anything to you. So what the feds need to do is every one of them take them over under federal receivership. Nobody get paid except the employees and suppliers. All profits go right back into Medicare until the bill is paid. And if you don't like it, you be the one take us to court. Not where we got to take you to court and you have already stole all these billions from the United States of America taxpayers for Medicare and Medicaid. Now, that is something that's going to have to be done. I know Donald Trump can't do all this stuff. You think he know all of this stuff? He didn't have to go through 6 years of torture like I went through at one of those clinics. If it wasn't for the doctors, my doctor, I probably would have got killed. It wasn't him. It was the staff. The staff, see, they work independently. And they are the ones who tell the doctors what to do. And most of the doctors, they have to follow it because they can't really go into their own practice. It takes a lot of money. So this is what, I told, what's his name, the leader of the Florida Healthcare, Pigler, Representative Pigler, when he was there, Kerry Pigman, I told all of them, but I had to find out the hard way. If it wasn't for Governor Rick Scott, I wouldn't have got out. I wouldn't have known all the things they did to me. Some restraining order and some judges doing all kinds of stuff, taking cases against me for them. And when I put my cases in, I was the only one who could put a claim in. Only the plaintiff. Defendants couldn't say anything because they didn't have medical licenses. That meant when they came to court to defend themselves, they couldn't use state statutes because they were unlicensed as medical people. It's as simple as that. So that's what's happening down in Florida. Now, you remember last week when we did the federal government, I named you all the names of the federal judges that I could remember that's causing all this bad immigration and causing you to lose your jobs. Remember who it was? It was Judge Cohen, Demetrolis, Judge Williams, I forgot Marcus, Scola, and a couple others I did name. Seltzer, I named them all. Well, now I'm going to name you the state judges in Florida who did all this stuff. See, they kind of have to because Florida Statute 760.102, the court has to do what it say do. The court can't accept cases that wasn't messed up on behalf of the medical people. And when you go through the form that they want you to do, it takes about 2 or 3 years to go through those different segments, and you can't use your medical records. So that means you're going to lose. So ain't no need you trying to take it to court because the court will dismiss it as an improper filing because you didn't pass the rules on FS 760.102. However, if the doctor is license exempt, you're supposed to be able to sue them. But these judges still won't let you do it. I know. I went through it. So I'm going to name these judges. Judge Dale Cohen, case number 16-1394. Judge Tim Bailey, same case. Judge Carlos Rodriguez, case number 16-19469. Judge Carlos Rodriguez, case number 21665. Clerk T. Williams was involved as well. He refused to issue a default that they didn't answer the complaint. He refused to dismiss it. It was $50 million worth of, he refused to dismiss it. So I'm just telling you what is going on in Medicare. You remember Menendez, the congressman who just got off, Senator Menendez, he was down in Florida with a Florida eye doctor, got multi-millions. The only way he was able to do that is because the state of Florida enables Medicare to be robbed. It says it clearly. that Medicare and Medicaid can't be paid until you go through a process of going through different agencies. And you're going to lose because you can't use your medical records. And most people don't have sense enough to do that no way. So Medicare just simply don't be getting paid. And then on top of don't be getting paid for what they owe, then they steal stuff from. They rob us by the billions. So look up those case numbers. Don't worry, I'm not done with them yet. I'm not done with them yet. They call themselves using statutes, state statutes. Rick Scott, the governor, he sent me the information that these people are an entity that technically is unlicensed. They're license exempt. It said clearly they can have a license through the state, but they chose to be license exempt. So they think they can get away with a whole lot of stuff. And they did, in the state court. But these judges, I can sue all of them. I don't have time. My next step is going to be in federal court. I know exactly how to do it. So I just had to let you guys know why we're suffering so many losses from Medicare and Medicaid. It's not us. It's not the people. It is the state of Florida. Originally, it's them. They have enabled for, I can't tell you how many, at least 2 decades, they have been enabling robbery. So I got to wrap it up for today because I got one more clip to show you. I want to show you what's happening in Santa Ana, California. Used to be one of the most beautiful cities in the world. But since this immigration mess, check this out. And then we'll come back and I'll bid you adieu.
We're here at the Santa Ana, California City Hall. Santa Ana has passed a sanctuary city resolution. And we want to take you on a tour of how American citizens are living right in the shadows of the sanctuary city, Santa Ana City Hall. These are your homeless Americans living in a sanctuary city for illegals. It's raining. This is a town, Santa Ana, that welcomes illegals as American citizens. Literally live in tents right outside the city hall. Smells like urine. It's raining, it's been cold, and we have families here. Call the city of Santa Ana and tell them to help these homeless American families.
Well, you see what I mean? That's why I wish we could just go back to the Constitution this day and flip this country on a dime. We will clean it up, and they will not march up and down the street and call people names. And that's another thing y'all better get hip to. They're calling the white people all these racist names so they can do an end run around the Constitution and an end run around the black people and take all the inventions that was originally done by black people, and white people bought the patents. You guys better wake up. They trying to take over everything. The white people were not the only inventors. We taught them a lot. They learned in the engineering schools. I'm talking all the car manufacturers, General Electric, the train people, the subways, the carnival equipment, Edison, the phone. Most of that was learned from the black engineers. So when you guys let them run around calling the white people all these names, what you think gonna happen is when they get the white people down, what you think gonna happen to black people? Look at how black men got shot down on the street as soon as Obama started bringing them Syrians here. It was down on the streets with the black man. So shoot them down. So y'all better be careful, and you better start thinking about what's really going on with this immigration. This is a system meant to put all the light-skinned, slick-haired immigrants out there instead of the black people who actually helped to build this stuff. And they had to also get the white people scared to be white too, so they couldn't say anything about what was being done. So everybody need to wake up, the white people and the black people. If we as citizens don't stop them, we're not going to have anything. And the Muslim, look at how they're using their inbreeding. You think I'm lying? I'm going to bring you a video clip on that. I read that 70% of the Muslims are inbred. And that's how they getting so many people. And they want to use that to take us over. But we're going to stop them. We're stopping all this rabble-rousing against America. We're winning. Bye.